Exposed, 10 spine-chilling encounters with California's sinister legends. Terrifying horror tales. Mia's heart raced as she stepped outside the diner after another long shift. The night air felt thick, heavy with an unsettling tension that prickled at her skin. The neat, quiet suburb of Oak Ridge was adorned with manicured lawns and white picket fences, but there was something lurking in the shadows. Rumors had spread through the community like wildfire, strange disappearances drawing young children into the darkness. And then there was La Llorona, the weeping woman said to roam the abandoned reservoir nearby, searching for her lost children. Everything felt off. As she called goodbye to her co-workers, the wind howled, and Mia instinctively pulled her jacket tighter around her. Just the fading laughter of patrons echoed through the empty streets. She tried to shake off the chill creeping up her spine, blaming it on fatigue, but the stories lodged deep in her mind like a thorn. Each night, she hastened home to Lucy and Jacob, innocently unaware of the terror surrounding them, but she couldn't help feeling the weight of dread growing heavier. The cries of La Llorona, once just tales to amuse the late-night crowd, now clawed at her sanity. The following nights felt eerily quiet, yet the shadows crept closer, lurking just beyond the glow of her porch light. It started with strange sounds, soft weeping that twisted her heart. "It's just the wind," she'd tell herself, but doubt gnawed at her as she glanced out at the reservoir, its dark water reflecting the moon's glimmer. What if La Llorona was real? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One stormy evening, thick clouds rolled in, wrapping the neighborhood in an unnatural gloom. Mia was exhausted, her mind heavy with grief. She was about to call it a night when Lucy's giggle pierced the air, followed by the mournful sound of weeping that sent chills down Mia's spine. It was unnervingly close. Heart racing, she rushed to her daughter's room only to find it empty. Panic surged through her veins. Where was Lucy? "Mama!" Jacob's voice broke her train of thought, filled with alarm, but a shiver of dread clawed at her. She yelled, "Lucy!" and sprinted out into the storm. Shadows danced around her as the wind howled, a ghostly chorus mixing with anguished cries. The streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to reach for her. Mia's breath caught in her throat as she neared the reservoir, the air growing colder with each step. There, on the edge of the water, was Lucy, standing completely still in the pouring rain, entranced by something unseen. The cries echoed around them, now clearer, hauntingly beautiful yet filled with despair. "Lucy, come back!" She screamed, but her voice felt small and weak against the rising storm. As she lunged forward, shadows surged around them like dark tendrils, cold and uninviting. Everything blurred, and it felt as though the ground beneath her vanished. With panic clawing at her throat, she reached for her daughter, realizing the line between safety and horror had shattered. Mia raced against the ever-hungry shadows, each moment defined by the gut-wrenching fear that her children were slipping through her grasp. Just as she was about to pull Lucy away, she sensed, with a chilling certainty, they were not alone. The shadows writhed like serpents, closing in on Mia and Lucy. A low, eerie chant filled the air, the weeping transforming into a chorus of despair that seeped into the very ground beneath her. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as she fought against the overwhelming urge to flee. But Lucy, she was still there, entranced, her wide eyes reflecting the ghostly light of the moon. "Lucy!" Mia struggled against the suffocating darkness surrounding her. With trembling hands, she finally grasped her daughter's small arm, pulling her back with all her strength. But Lucy resisted, her gaze fixed on the water as if it held the secrets of the universe. "Mama, please, I can hear them." Her voice was fragile, each word shattering inside Mia's heart. A wave of dread washed over her as she realized that Lucy was not just frightened, she was tempted. "It's not real. It's not real. Mia shouted, her voice nearly drowned by the growing storm and the relentless wails echoing around her. The shadows flickered and danced, reaching out like cruel fingers, hungry for the innocent. With every ounce of force left in her, Mia yanked Lucy away, finally breaking the spell of the reservoir's haunting depths. Lucy stumbled back, eyes wide with terror. But Mama, they're so sad. I know, sweetheart, but we have to go. The shadows shot forward, scraping over Mia's skin like icy talons. She turned, her heart racing, dragging Lucy in the opposite direction, sprinting down the path lit by flickering streetlights that struggled to keep the darkness at bay. They tore through the night, the wails trailing behind them like the screams of the lost. Just as they reached the edge of the reservoir, Mia caught a glimpse of something in the corner of her eye, a figure cloaked in shadow, its form contorted and grotesque, lingering just beyond the flickering lights, watching them with eyes that glimmered like dark jewels. It stood still, a silhouette against the rising storm, and anxiety bloomed in Mia's chest. Mommy, who is that? Lucy's voice trembled, looking back at the darkness with wide eyes. It felt like the figure was pulling at her, tugging her heart with a force she couldn't comprehend. I don't know, baby. Keep moving. Mia urged, her voice cracking. They ran through the wind and rain, but the feeling of being followed clung to her. Behind them, wet footsteps echoed in pursuit. The path twisted, leading them into the dense woods that bordered the reservoir, treaches of brittle branches scratching at them as they stumbled forward. In the cold embrace of the trees, Mia pressed her back against the rough bark, pulling Lucy close as fear gripped both of them. The shadows of the trees loomed ominously overhead, whispering secrets of horrors that had long since passed. Suddenly, the weeping returned, louder, more insistent. It felt as if it were consuming the forest around them. Mama! Lucy whimpered, burying her face in Mia's shoulder. Mia! A voice echoed from within the woods, carrying the cadence of sorrow. It sounded familiar, yet twisted. Mia, come to me. Mia's heart raced again, her breath quickening, the cold creeping deeper. We need to go now. She grabbed Lucy's hand, but the girl hesitated, looking at the trees as if they held secrets she could not understand. Mama, it wants us no. Mia shouted, a spark of desperation igniting her resolve. She pulled Lucy again, darting deeper into the woods, away from the voice that beckoned. But the shadows shifted, looming closer, and Mia could feel the oppressive weight of fear drawing near as more voices joined in, chanting, calling out her name. Just as hope began to wither and darkness encroached, Mia spotted a flicker of light in the distance, a house, faint but warm. Over there! She yelled, tugging Lucy along, praying that the light wasn't just another illusion, another trap. But as they ran, the air thickened and the forest seemed to close in behind them. When they reached the door, Mia's hand hesitated over the handle. A chill ran down her spine, and the whispers faded like a distant nightmare. What's wrong, Mama? Lucy's innocent question echoed, but deep down, a sense of dread gripped Mia. What awaited them behind the door? She took a deep breath, ready to confront whatever lay within. But standing there, with the darkness swirling around them, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, and soon, the truth would reveal itself. Mia took a deep breath and turned the knob, feeling the metal cold against her palm. It creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room filled with thick dust motes swirling in the air like trapped souls. The smell of mold and stale air clawed at her throat, but she stepped inside, dragging Lucy over the threshold. The door groaned shut behind them, sealing them in. A single light bulb flickered overhead, casting long, jagged shadows that danced across the walls. Old furniture lay in wait, covered in worn sheets that looked like the ghosts of forgotten memories. Mia shivered, instinctively pulling Lucy closer. Mama, it's scary, Lucy whispered, her eyes darting around the room. I know, sweetheart. But we're safe here for now. Mia's voice was steadier than she felt, but an unease settled within her stomach. They crept further into the house, the floorboards creaking beneath their feet like tired whispers of unearthed secrets. Stacked boxes loomed like tombstones, and an old portrait hung crookedly on the wall, a woman's face obscured by years of grime. She smiled, but it felt wrong, as if her lips knew truths better left unspoken. "Mama, look," Lucy pointed to a darkened hallway at the end of the living room. In the gloom, the faintest sound echoed, a distant sob, heavier and more sorrowful than any they had heard outside. Mia's heart raced. It was coming from beyond that hallway. "Stay close to me, okay?" Each step felt leaden, a silent prayer on Mia's lips that the shadows wouldn't reach for them here. She grasped Lucy's hand tighter, the warmth of her daughter grounding her in the encroaching dread. As they reached the hallway, the sobs grew louder and more frantic. The walls seemed to pulse with grief, as if they absorbed every drop of sorrow that ever passed through. Mia swallowed hard, trembling, and peered into the dark. "Mama, I hear them." Lucy quivered. "Shush, we have to be quiet." Without warning, an icy gust swept through the hallway, extinguishing the bulbous flicker and plunging them into darkness. The sobbing morphed into a lament, an anguished wail that sunk deep into Mia's bones. Panic surged within her, and she turned to flee back into the living room. But Lucy stood frozen. "Mama, please let us help her." "Help who, Lucy?" Panic edged into Mia's voice. "We can't help anyone. We need to leave." "Mama." Lucy's voice pierced through the darkness, sharp and desperate. "She's alone." The voice in the shadows twisted, wrapping around them, echoing painfully through their minds. "Mia, come to me, I need you." It was calling, pleading, a gentle coaxing that sent a shiver up Mia's spine. "No, no." Mia screamed, yanking at Lucy's arm, desperate to pull her from the grip of the shadows. But Lucy's gaze was fixed, entranced again, pulling back against Mia's hold. "Mama, she's so sad, we can't leave her." Suddenly, the wailing ceased, and an eerie silence flooded the space. The air grew thicker, suffocating, and a chill deepened. A faint glow emerged at the far end of the hallway, illuminating a door slightly ajar, light spilling out like hope. "Lucy, we have to go." Mia shouted, but her heart was at war. The voice still lingered in the air. They were not alone. Something was waiting, something desperate. Reluctantly, Lucy took a step toward the glow, her small feet whispering against the floor. The moment felt suspended, like standing on the precipice of a choice. Mia's breath quickened. Was this where their fate lay? Behind the door. With a jolt of determination, Mia lunged forward, grabbing Lucy's wrist and pulling her back. "No. We're not going near that." But as they turned to escape, the shadows writhed again, encircling them. The house groaned, and the walls began to pulse, resonating with an urgency that demanded their attention. "You can't escape, you have to choose." Mia realized that this house was not just a refuge, it was a prison. Made to entrap souls, to feed on despair. They were being watched, hunted in the darkness. Suddenly, the door creaked open fully, revealing the light beyond, yet it beckoned a new threat. "Come," it beckoned, "sweet and vile." The walls trembled as the cries returned, more desperate, more intense, like 1,000 voices mingling in agony. Mia's heart raced as she pulled Lucy close, bracing to confront whatever awaited them, but one thing was clear, they had but one choice left. As they faced the door, Mia clung to the reality that once crossed, there was no coming back. What lay beyond? Would it be salvation or damnation? Time seemed to hold its breath as they hovered at the threshold, teetering on the edge of an unveiling truth. The air crackled with tension. The flickering light seemed to pulsate, weaving shadows into grotesque shapes that leaped and lunged across the walls. Mia squeezed Lucy's hand tighter, her knuckles white with fear. "Stay close," she whispered urgently, the sound of her voice barely a whisper above a breath. The glowing door beckoned, but it was a trick, she instinctively knew. It promised safety but smelled of deceit like a flower with a hidden thorn. "Mama, I want to see," Lucy pleaded, her innocent curiosity colliding violently with the visceral terror coursing through Mia's veins. But the little girl stared longingly at the light, eyes wide, as if she could see something that Mia could not. "No, Lucy. We have to go, we have to." Then, a chilling breeze swept through the hallway again, forcing a gasp from Mia's lips. It froze her in place. That voice returned, thicker and clawing, "Mia, please. Come to me. Help me." The warmth of Lucy's hand slipped slightly, and before Mia could react, Lucy took a half-step towards the door. "Mama, she is so sad, Mama." Lucy cried again, her eyes sparkling with an unsettling glow that made Mia's blood run cold. Something twisted in Mia's gut, a growing dread. "Don't!" she shrieked, fear cracking her voice. She lunged forward to grab Lucy, but shadows danced in front of her, strong and insistent. "Mama, it's hurting her," Lucy whined, her small body trembling. And with those words, Mia felt it. A deep, penetrating sorrow weaving its way into her thoughts, clouding her judgment. Grief for a lost soul that wasn't her own, but soon would be. "No. Lucy, we can't." The walls seemed to close in, pressing against her, groaning like the weight of the world was collapsing around them. The shadows spread across the floor, thick as smoke, slithering to tie around Lucy's ankles, binding her in place. "Let her go!" Mia shouted, a raw note of desperation in her voice as she tried to yank Lucy back. But the darkness snarled, its breath heavy and oppressive. The wailing rose again, crescendoing into a cacophony that rattled the bones. "Help me!" The voice was a sharp whisper now, cutting into her mind. Mia's heart raced, caught in a storm of horror as the very air screamed with tension. Laughter bubbled from the shadows, chilling and dark. "You will enter," it promised. "You will stay." That was when Mia caught a flicker in the shadows, another door opening beside the one drenched in light, this one ancient and rotting, a threshold steeped in decay. It was darker, beckoning with more ferocity than the light. "Lucy! No!" Mia's heartbeat thundered, courage propelled her forward, arms thrusting to seize her daughter away, but it was a battle against the unseen force, a tug-of-war over Lucy's will. "Mama, help her!" A voice choked on the echoes of despair, the laughter intensifying in response to Lucy's plea. The room felt alive, breathing around them, walls pulsating, floors shifting, as memories of despair flowed from the shadows. Mia's mind raced through her options, panic narrowing her vision. She could feel the walls pressing in, her breaths shallow and ragged. What could she do? What choice lay ahead? "Lucy, come on." With all the strength she could muster, she yanked her daughter toward the door with the light, pulling her through the exhaustion of despair. But as they staggered forward, they both heard it, a faint whisper rising above the loss. "I can't let you go." Mia froze, dread washing over her as she turned to look one last time at the source of the voice. The shadowy figure was emerging from the darkness, her face unrecognizable, twisted with sorrow. The door creaked again, both beckoning and threatening, and the eldritch glow flickered with ominous intent. What lay behind that threshold could shatter them mind and spirit. Mia steadied her breath, ready to fight for Lucy, ready to confront whatever this house was demanding of them. Would they step into the light, or succumb to the darkness that craved to claim them? Suddenly, the walls shuddered, and they heard a chorus of whispers growing louder, more insistent. It was a symphony of despair, woven with hints of warning. And then, all at once, the whispers became one chilling statement, echoing in their ears, leaving them hanging in dread. "You can't escape your destiny." What destiny awaited them on the other side? Would it be salvation, or the final turning point of their lives? The darkness engulfed them as they stumbled back, Mia's breath hitting a wall of icy air that pressed against her chest. The shadows around them writhed and shifted like living things, mocking her desperation. Lucy clung to her side, eyes locked on the figure emerging from the shadows, a grotesque silhouette imbued with a grief that sent waves of dread through Mia's heart. "Come to me." The voice cooed softly, but it carried a weight, a promise laced with sorrow and malevolence. It wrapped around them, insisting, filling Mia's senses with despair. "Mama." Lucy's voice wavered, uncertainty clouding her innocent face. Stay close. Panic surged through Mia. She felt the shadows tugging harder at Lucy, trying to pull her into the depths of their despair. She stepped forward, determination igniting the fear in her stomach. We're leaving, now. The shadowy figure laughed, a sound void of joy, more a haunting echo of sorrow. The laughter clawed at Mia's sanity, filling her head with memories that were not her own: loss, betrayal, moments slowly unwinding into nothingness. The lingering sorrow was suffocating. You don't understand, the figure hissed, its form rippling like smoke. You were chosen. Mia's heart sank. Chosen for what? Chosen to bear the weight of grief, it whispered, and suddenly, Mia was overwhelmed by an avalanche of emotions. Her own heartache surged back: loss of family, memories that cut like sharp edges, each one a jagged shard of pain. But this was not just hers, it was collective, an accumulation of shattered dreams, long-buried anguish from untold others. Lucy. She gasped, struggling to hold on, trying to remember who they were in this overwhelming storm of despair. You're my light. Somehow, Lucy's gaze broke from the shadow, focusing on Mia with wide eyes, a flicker of defiance igniting in those innocent depths. Mama, I can feel her pain. She just wants to be seen. No. Rage boiled inside Mia, twisting with fear. The shadows throbbed angrily at her defiance. We can't be a part of this. With all her might, Mia pulled Lucy away, focusing on the ancient door, the one that felt different, that called to her in a way the glowing door never could. We need to go, we need to find another way. But the shadows surged forward, a tidal wave of darkness that threatened to drown them. You cannot escape the past, Mia. It finds you wherever you run. In an act of desperation, Mia threw herself in front of Lucy, shielding her from the encroaching darkness. As the shadows closed in, she closed her eyes, recalled the love she felt for her little girl, their precious moments of laughter, the warmth of shared secrets whispered in the dark. Mama! Lucy cried, fear lacing her voice as the shadows began to crawl around them. Hold on. With a surge of unyielding will, Mia took Lucy's hand, and together they dashed towards the rotting door. Their feet pounded the ground, resonating against the hushed whispers that mocked her very existence. The horrible laughter behind them spiraled, an outburst against their futile escape. You cannot hide from what you are. They reached the door, and it swung open with a creak that echoed like a death knell. The air inside smelled musty, like forgotten secrets. But beyond it lay a corridor that spiraled into darkness, a void whispering heinous truths. What's in there? Lucy asked, voice trembling. I don't know, Mia admitted, her heart pounding as dread coiled in her stomach. But as they stepped inside, the air thickened with a sense of impending doom. The shadows followed, crawling like a nightmare just out of sight. They were trapped between choices, one path leading into darkness, the other to an uncertain fate. And then, a single word echoed through the night, chilling them to the core. Welcome. What awaited them in this new abyss? Would they find a way out, or would the shadows finally claim their souls? As Mia and Lucy stepped into the corridor, the oppressive darkness swallowed them whole. The shadows flickered around them, drawing closer, hungry for the light that Mia desperately tried to cling to. Every breath felt like ice, piercing her lungs, as fear gripped her heart. What do we do now? Lucy whispered, her voice trembling. Mia squeezed Lucy's hand tighter, each heartbeat a reminder of the love that anchored her. We keep moving, she whispered back, resolve trembling in her voice. With each step, the floor creaked as if voicing its own warnings, but they pressed on, their small footsteps echoing in the suffocating silence. The corridor twisted, an unending nightmare of shadows that seemed to pulse and breathe as they moved. Glancing back, Mia felt the cold caress of despair slithering against her skin, whispering promises of surrender. You can join her, it hissed, laced with the ache of countless souls long lost. No. Mia shouted, rage igniting her heart as she pulled Lucy closer. I want to let you take her. Suddenly, the walls of the corridor began to shift, expanding and contracting like a living thing. Pale lights flickered to life, revealing ghostly images embedded within the walls. Faces twisted in anguish, eyes wide with terror, peered back at them, mouths opening soundlessly, calling out for release. Mia's breath hitched. These were once children, and mothers, only now they existed as the living memories of a forgotten tragedy. A cold sweat broke on her brow, the weight of their sorrow pressing heavily against her chest. She shook her head, desperate to drive them from her thoughts. "Mama, look!" Lucy pointed. At the end of the corridor, a dim light pulsed invitingly. It drew them like moths to a flame, but Mia knew better. What call was this? Do you think it could be another trap? Mia intercepted. She began to pull Lucy away, but the shadows around them thickened, flickering like flames lost in a gust of wind. "If you flee, you'll only prolong the inevitable," came the voice, clear and cruel. "Face the truth, Mia. This is your path." In that moment, the corridor darkened, and Mia's heart raced. The walls began to close in, the distance to the light seeming impossibly far away, each step forward stretching agonizingly. Could she reach it before it was too late? Suddenly, Lucy screamed. The darkness erupted around them, wailing in anguish as a figure broke free from the shadows. "Let her go!" it cried, a grotesque semblance of a mother, eyes hollowed with despair. "She belongs with me." Mia's stomach twisted with terror as the figure lunged toward them, reaching for Lucy. Time seemed to freeze as Mia instinctively stepped forward, a lioness defending her cub. "No! You will not take her!" she roared, her voice echoing with raw power. The shadow figure hesitated, momentarily caught off guard by Mia's ferocity. In that instant, Mia grasped for Lucy's other hand, yanking her back just as the shadows lunged again, hungry and relentless. "Run! Now!" They sprinted toward the light at the end, hearts pounding, the laughter echoing behind them, growing frantic and furious. With each step, Mia felt the shadows clawing at her heels, a storm of darkness yearning to break free. As they burst through the threshold, a blinding light enveloped them, washing away the oppressive chill. Mia shielded her eyes, breathless, but what lay before them was both a wonder and dread. They stood in a surreal landscape, and the ground shimmered beneath their feet. Figures of light danced in the distance, but the cries of anguish still lingered around them, tainted by an eerie familiarity. But Mia sensed it, the lurking danger, an ominous presence. "Lucy, stay close." Out from the light, a familiar voice called, beckoning. "Mia, you've returned." But was it salvation they found, or another form of deception? Another layer of darkness perhaps, ready to ensnare them once more. As they took a step forward, unease knotted in Mia's stomach. The truth of their journey was far from over. They were still on a precipice, teetering over a chasm with unseen horrors lying just beneath the surface. "Who are you?" Mia demanded, the question slipping from her lips like a whisper before a storm. "What if I told you," the figure smiled, "that your past will always find you?" The darkness was far from defeated. A new fear unfurled within Mia as unanswered questions simmered. Just who had they unleashed? What awaited them in this fractured reality? And then, the chilling realization settled, the shadows were not bound to just one realm. They could follow into the light. Would they escape the horrors, or would the past finally claim them? Mia squinted against the glow, her heart racing as the figure stepped closer. The familiar face held an unsettling smile that twisted her insides. "It's been so long, Mia. I've missed you," it cooed, the voice both soothing and sharp like a blade dipped in honey. "Stay back!" Mia shouted, fear clawing at her throat. Lucy clutched at her mother's side, wide-eyed and trembling. This wasn't the reunion Mia had hoped for. The figure exuded a twisted kind of warmth, the kind that chilled the soul. The figure's hands glimmered as it reached out, sparkling with an otherworldly light. "All you need is to let go of the past. Join us, and we can be a family again." For a moment, Mia felt the familiar pull of longing. Memories surged: laughter, warmth, safety. But those were fragments of a life that was lost, severed by tragedy. Mia steeled herself, pushing the memories away. "I have a family now," she declared fiercely. The light around the figure dimmed, shadows creeping in as anger shifted its smile. "Your family? In this place?" it hissed. A sudden gust swept through, making the ground around them tremble. Lucy gasped, terror etched in her small face. "Run!" Mia yelled, her voice cracking as an echo of haunting laughter filled the air. They turned on their heels, racing back the way they came, but the path blurred and morphed with each frantic step. The brilliance of the light faded into a murky haze, a dark mist whirlpooling ominously behind them. Mia's breath came in gasps, the familiar sounds of their escape morphing into a chorus of wails. Every inhalation tasted like burnt ash. Shadows slithered and grasped, scratching at Mia's ankles, trying to pull her back into the fog. In that darkness, she sensed the anguish of all who had come before, lost souls begging for release, their pain a bitter undercurrent in the air. "Don't look back," Mia urged Lucy, but the girl's eyes widened as they continued to run. She barely recognized the environment around them, walls shifted and walls danced before them in delirious forms. Deeper into the void they ran, but the cries grew louder, rising like a cacophony of despair. "Mama!" Lucy screamed, her small hand slipping from Mia's grip for the briefest of moments, and panic gripped Mia's heart like a vice. She spun around, her mother's instincts surging. In that harrowing glance, shadows loomed closer, swirling menacingly around Lucy. "Lucy! Grab my hand!" Lucy complied, her small fingers clenching tightly around Mia's, and they surged forward together. But the laughing figure had returned, now weaving through the shadows like a predator. "You can't escape your fate, Mia!" it screamed, a manic lilt underscoring its words. The ground quaked beneath their feet as tangible despair followed close behind. Mia knew if they faltered, if they hesitated even for a heartbeat, they would be consumed. With every ounce of strength, Mia pushed ahead, urging Lucy, "We have to find a way out." The flickering light ahead revealed a narrow exit, tantalizing yet fraught with uncertainty. But as they reached it, the air thickened with dread, a swirling vortex of shadows that cackled like banshees, feeding on their terror. "You belong here!" they shrieked, claws outstretched, eyes glittering with malice in the dim light. Behind them, the figure grew huge, its features twisting. "No one leaves. No one ever." Mia's heart pounded. She instinctively shielded Lucy, moving as if their lives depended on it because they did. They leaped through the exit, tumbling into a space that warped and pulsed, yet still felt like a way forward. They landed in a desolate landscape that churned beneath stormy gray skies. Shadows flitted across the horizon, restless and hungry. But the air was different here, charged with chaos and potential. Mia turned to Lucy. "Are you okay?" Lucy nodded, albeit shakily. But Mia could see the lingering fear in her eyes. "What is this place?" Lucy asked, looking around cautiously. Mia didn't have an answer, dread pooling in her stomach. They were still trapped in a web of darkness, just in a different guise. "Stay close to me," Mia said. "Resolute. We'll find a way. I promise." But the shadows encircled them, twisting in patterns that mocked her words. The winds howled, whispering haunting echoes of failures past. And then a voice broke through the tumult, almost song-like, "You think you've escaped? Here, your greatest fears will be laid bare." Mia shivered, feeling the weight of those words creeping into her bones. She had thought they could outrun their past, but was it waiting for them in the dark, ready to strike again? As anticipation hung in the air, they took a cautious step forward, but the shadows were ever present, watching, waiting. What horrors awaited them next? The past wasn't done with Mia yet. The blackened sky above churned, roiling with dark clouds that seemed to writhe like the shadows around them. Each rumble of thunder echoed the turmoil building in Mia's heart. Her grip on Lucy's hand tightened, hot fear pulsing in her veins. They stepped carefully through the desolate terrain, the ground beneath them shifting with a mind of its own, as if alive, testing their will to press on. "Mom." Lucy's soft voice quivered, breaking through the haunting silence that seemed to swallow any remaining hope. "What is this place?" I don't know," Mia admitted, struggling to keep her own terror at bay. Each breath felt heavy, suffocating, as the shadows closed in tighter. Twitching like fingers of some unseen creature, they licked at their heels, hungry for their fear. Suddenly, the voice from the storm grew louder, its melodic tone sharpening into a sinister call. "Welcome, welcome. So many lost souls have wandered here. It's a pleasure to finally meet the living. A feast awaits." Mia froze. The low laughter felt like ice sliding down her back. "We need to keep moving," she whispered, even as dread gripped her throat, squeezing her words into a strangled echo. The shadows contorted around them, 1,000 eyes glinting with malicious delight, taunting her at every step. But forward they pressed, the sound of their footfalls raising clouds of dust that shimmered like broken glass. A flicker of movement caught Mia's eye, a glimpse of a figure darting through the wreckage of an old house on the horizon. "Lucy! Look!" They hurried toward the building, the darkness swirling with menace as they approached, the air thickening with unspoken dangers. Each creak of the splintered wood seemed to breathe the name of a long-lost memory, feeding on Mia's uncertainty. Hesitant, she stepped over the threshold. The air inside felt different, it throbbed with an oppressive silence, heavy with the scent of decay, reminding her of forgotten moments and lost dreams. But the shadows followed, weaving around them, whispering of regrets and sorrow. "Who is there?" A voice called from the depths of the house. It was raspy, fading in and out, as if the speaker had one foot in the world of the living and the other in the cold grip of the grave. Mia edged forward, her heart ramping up to a panicked thud as she clutched Lucy. "It's just us. We're looking for a way out." The shadows recoiled momentarily, then swarmed back, thicker now, a purgatorial fog. "No one leaves, no one ever," the disembodied voice echoed, each word drip-fed with sorrow and despair. "Run!" Mia screamed, pulling Lucy with her as they dashed deeper into the house's belly. The walls sagged, the floorboard moaned under their weight, struggling not to collapse under the weight of history, a history heavy with pain. Then, a chilling realization spiked through her. Where are the exits? The windows were boarded, the doors barricaded. This house wasn't meant to let anyone go. The shadows laughed, a cacophony of despair that rattled the walls. They lunged at Mia and Lucy, clawing at their feet, the howls rising to a torrent surrounding them. "Here!" Mia shouted, pushing through a doorway that led into a darkened room. It felt like stepping into the mouth of a monster, the air suffocating and thick. But what lay ahead was a yawning abyss, pulsating with the allure of freedom. Just as they stepped inside, the portal began to close, an impenetrable wall of shadows creeping in. "No!" Mia shouted, scrambling to halt the impending darkness. "Your past can't escape." The voice taunted again, now low and mocking. "Your fears are your chains." Mia felt a desperate cry clawing at her throat. "I want to let you take us." In that instant, the air shimmered with an electric charge. The room began to light up, revealing not just the darkness but the twisted faces of former victims. You could see the pain and anguish etched into their forms. Glares of hopelessness pierced into Mia. "What do you want from us?" Mia gasped, tears stinging her eyes as she pulled Lucy close, facing the horror of a life once lived and now imprisoned in regret. The shadows pulsed around them like a heartbeat, and a cacophony of whispers filled the air. "Everything." Mia's heart raced as she recognized something twisted in their eyes. They were waiting for her to break, to give in to despair. But deep down, a flicker of defiance ignited. Taking a deep breath, she turned to Lucy. "We have to fight. We have to remember who we are." As Mia raised her voice against the rising tide of darkness, the figures writhed in response. The shadows recoiled, howling at her defiance. But would it be enough? In that moment of fragile hope, a shattering realization struck Mia, a truth she never wanted to face: the past had to be confronted, and the demons that hid within those memories could either consume or empower them. As the shadows converged, engulfing all light, the question lingered: would they find liberation amidst the horror of their past, or become yet another whisper in the dark? The temperature dropped suddenly, wrapping Mia and Lucy in a bone-chilling embrace. Each breath they took puffed out in white clouds, mixing with the swirling shadows that danced menacingly in the room, as if feeding on the very fear that gripped them. "Mom!" Lucy cried, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling with terror. What if we can't fight them?" Mia glanced around, her heart pounding louder than the frantic beat of her thoughts. The faces of the trapped souls stared back at them, their mouths twisted in silent screams. She could almost see their pleas, their desperate need for release, clawing at the edges of the darkness. A searing pain shot through Mia's chest as the memories they had suppressed surged forward like an unstoppable wave. Her past, filled with regret and guilt, was now laid bare before her, an open wound inviting infection. She fought against it, pushing back fiercely. "Lucy, we can do this. Remember the times we fought through the hard things together." The shadows recoiled, hissing in retreat, but just as quickly, they reformed, thicker and angrier. "You cannot escape the darkness. You are bound to it." The voices roared in a dreadful chorus. Mia stepped closer to Lucy, clasping her hands tightly. She felt the warmth of her daughter's small fingers, a delicate reminder of what she had to lose. "We are not their prisoners. We will not give in. We refuse to allow our pasts to control us." With that declaration, the shadows surged, pushing against them like battering rams, the souls lost while fueling the terrible force. Mia felt a rush of wind whip around them, and the room began to pulse, walls quaking like the ground beneath their feet was trying to swallow them whole. Lucy squeezed her mother's hand. "I'm scared." "I know, sweetheart. But this is our fight. We face this together," Mia said fiercely, fighting back her own fear. Suddenly, the air shifted, a strange brightness cutting through the darkness. Mia turned, eyes wide as she spotted an ornate mirror on the far wall. It framed the chaos outside, reflecting the swirling shadows and the tormented souls. It felt alive, beckoning to them, offering a glimpse of something beyond the darkness, a way out. "Look!" Lucy screamed, pointing toward the mirror, where a flicker of light began to emerge. It danced like a flame trying to ignite in the suffocating dark. "It's beautiful. Mom, we need to go there. Maybe it's a trap." Mia hesitated, but the flickering light pulled her in like a moth to a flame. It stirred a sense of hope deep within her, a feeling she hadn't held in far too long. "No." The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage, "You mustn't touch it." Mia could feel them converging, their presence dark and suffocating. "We have to try," she shouted, pulling Lucy toward the mirror. As they approached, the air thickened, crackling with electric energy. The haunting whispers pleaded with them to turn back, but Mia's resolve hardened. "Hold on tight." With a deep breath, she lunged forward, dragging Lucy with her. On impact, the light exploded, and an unbearable heat enveloped them. For a moment, everything went still, then came the gut-wrenching sensation of being pulled apart as the shadows clawed at their heels, desperate to reclaim their prey. In the turmoil, Mia felt her grip slipping. The lights flickered, and just as they were about to be consumed, she let out a primal scream, "We won't be yours anymore." Everything went black. When the world stabilized, they were no longer in the house, but standing on the edge of a jagged cliff overlooking an abyss of swirling fog. The air was cold and damp, and the thunder echoed behind them, but ahead lay an endless expanse of darkness, devoid of anything but the unknown. "Where are we?" Lucy asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty as she looked back. "I don't know, but we have to keep moving," Mia replied, scanning the horizon. Unease settled deep in her stomach, as shadows began creeping toward them from the edge of the cliff. Something flickered in the distance. An old sign creaked under the heavy wind, revealing the words, "Welcome to the cycle." "What does that mean?" Lucy asked, eyes wide with fear. Mia's heart sank as she felt the inevitability of facing something far worse than what they had escaped. Maybe it means her voice trailed off as she stared into the darkness ahead, thoughts racing of what might lurk within. "Mom," Lucy said, sensing the shift in the air. The shadows swirled, a dreadful wind gathering strength, and a voice echoed from the abyss, "Prepare yourselves, your past isn't finished with you yet." Just then, strange figures began to emerge from the mist, their outlines barely distinguishable against the darkness. "What do we do now?" Lucy whimpered, clutching her mother's arm. Mia's heart raced. "We face it together no matter what awaits." And as the figures drew closer, her thoughts crystallized in chilling clarity. Sometimes, confronting the darkest parts of ourselves was the only way to find the light again. But was she ready to uncover the truth hiding in the shadows? As the first figure stepped into view, a cold realization washed over her: the worst was yet to come. The echo of darkness swirled around Mia and Lucy like a shroud, every heartbeat pounding with dread. Shadows twisted and turned, clawing for them from beyond the abyss, but Mia stood firm as they approached the figures emerging from the fog. Each outline twisted and shimmered, flickering between life and sorrow, and the atmosphere grew thick with anticipation. "What do you want?" Mia shouted, her voice hoarse from the tension. The leading figure stepped closer, revealing a face that was hauntingly familiar, a reflection of her own. It was herself, but twisted, eyes hollow and filled with despair. "You have come to face your reckoning, Mia," the figure rasped, its voice like shattering glass. "The past doesn't just fade away. It demands to be confronted." Lucy tightened her grip on Mia's arm, and Mia felt the surge of protectiveness overcome her. "You're not real," she shouted defiantly. "You can't hold me in this darkness." The shadow of her past laughed coldly, each note filled with the echoes of lost moments. "This darkness is not just mine. It's all that you've buried deep within. Hurt, regret, shame, they all belong to you." Mia felt the rush of panic rise, memories flooding her mind, unbidden, of laughter turned to rage, loved ones lost, mistakes made. The shadow wore her sorrow, and it painted her with the weight of each painful moment she had tried so hard to forget. "No. I won't let you take her," Mia shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lucy. The shadows grew restless, their whispers growing louder, morphing into a cacophony that swirled around them like a relentless storm. "You think shielding her will save her? Your fears are inevitable, and she will bear the weight of your darkness." Mia's heart raced. She couldn't let them win, she wouldn't. "Lucy, listen to me." She crouched to meet her daughter's gaze. "This is our fight. Together, we can take back our light. You are my strength. Remind me of who I am." Lucy's wide eyes sparkled with clarity. "You're my mama," she exclaimed, a spark of determination igniting her small voice. "And I love you." With those words, something shifted within Mia, a warmth that rose in defiance against the bleak cold that threatened to wrap its grasp around them. "Love is the light that makes us stronger," Mia shouted, standing tall once more, eyes blazing with fervor as they pierced through the looming shadows. In that moment, the figures paused, quaking as if struck by the truth of her words. "You think that love can conquer all?" The twisted reflection slithered. "You will face your grief, and it will break you." "No, it won't." Mia responded firmly, drawing strength from Lucy, whose small hand clasped tightly in her own. "We choose to remember. Not just the pain, but the joy and the love we carry. You don't dictate our past, and you don't get to take her from me." With a powerful roar, her voice swelled, resonating with the fiery heart of both anger and love. The shadows hesitated, swirling uncertainly, and with each proclamation, Mia felt the oppressive weight lift. "We face our fears. We face you." The shadows shrieked in a whirlwind, and then, silence. The figures quivered but began to fragment, fading one by one into mist and echoes. The dark figures could not withstand the unity forged by their love. And suddenly, the air shimmered with pure light, dispelling the darkness around them. "I won't forget you," Mia whispered to the fading shadows of her past. "I will remember you not in sorrow, but in the strength you've instilled in me to love fiercely." As the figures disintegrated into nothingness, she felt a surge of warmth enveloping them, and the light blossomed brighter, washing away the cold. It infused her with a renewed sense of power and clarity, no longer haunted but transformed. "Mama!" Lucy sang out, joy shining in her eyes. "Look!" Before them, a bridge of light arced over the once dark abyss, shimmering and welcoming. It promised a way forward, an escape from the prison the shadows had sought to enshrine them within. Hand in hand, Mia and Lucy stepped forward together, hearts swelling with hope, resilience, and boundless love. What awaited them was uncertain, but they knew now together, they could face anything the world cast their way. As they crossed the luminous threshold, a voice whispered gently in the wind, "You are free now. The darkness has lost its hold." Mia felt light wash over her in waves, wrapping around her and sweeping away the last remnants of fear. With Lucy beside her, bound by love, Mia finally embraced the dawn of new beginnings, and the last echoes of despair faded into the gentle embrace of a brighter tomorrow. Now, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep us thriving. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.